Welcome to Political Paradigm. I'm Terry Ikumi. My guest is the former president of the Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria, a former president of the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, a business executive, and now a presidential aspirant, Mazi Sam Ohuabunwa. Welcome to Political Paradigm.
Thank you, Terry. It's a pleasure being here with you.
I must begin by complimenting your green.
Thank you. That's the color, the new Nigeria color.
Great. I'd like to think that this is your first shot at politics, is it?
Yeah, at competitive politics.
Okay.
You know, I've been in politics since 1999, but because I was active in the private sector advocacy, I was doing the advisory, I played advisory role, supportive role in politics, the coaching and the team leading and thought production, strategy production, and such things. I hadn't been in the front lines.
So how do you describe this, the sort of reaction you've received so far since your declaration? How's it been for you?
It's been quite exciting. Some people were like, hey, can this be true? That Mazi can step out of his clean environment to get into this murky political situation. That's what people worry about, knowing my moral codes and my principles. Secondly, is that people are saying, where have you been all this while? We've been praying for you, been waiting for you. You're the kind of people we need. And as we go around the country, that's the feedback we get. That, I mean, yesterday somebody said if appointing presidents is produced president by appointment, we just appoint you. Within the political meeting of important political people. So what I hear from the young, the old, first people have lost hope about Nigeria. And when we talk about the new Nigeria, it brings back hope. When they see us, look at where we're coming from, our leadership positions, what we've accomplished, and more importantly, the integrity we bring, they say, maybe there is hope. An old man said, I bought my ticket to depart. But now that you have arrived, maybe we should wait and see whether, for once, there's going to be a change, So there is all kinds of excitement. Some people are sorry for me and say, Mazi, why will you put yourself through this kind of hassle? This country is redeemable, and I say that cannot be true. We must try to redeem, change our situation. It's not redeemable.
Let me take you up on the first reaction. You said some question why you'd want to step into this murky waters of politics. So I ask you that, why?
Why is that I have been around here for a while. As I told you, playing supportive roles. I've written books. I've organized summits as chairman of the Nigerian Economic Summit Group, chairman of MAN, president of NECA. I've been in the private sector leadership. I was involved in Vision 2010, Vision 2020. All that we've been wanting is to get Nigeria to become globally competitive, to be able to stand as a major player in the world. First of all, satisfying its citizens, and then be able to be respected abroad. I've waited for 61 years, or going to 62. It has not happened. Once we move one step forward, then we move 3 steps backwards. I attend international fora, international meetings, having worked for a multinational, an American multinational, Pfizer, becoming chairman and CEO and regional managing director for West Africa, and all this other circuit. You go to the conference every day and they're doing statistics. They're reviewing Nigerian situation, amongst others, comparative. Is it Human Development Index? Is it life expectancy? Is it quality of life? Your country is at the bottom. You're saying, am I helpless? Am I hopeless? Should I continue crying and weeping and pontificating and mourning? So this whole thing puts pressure on me. Actually, the pressure has been for a long time. But you just kept hoping that you didn't need to step into the fray. It's that I got to the point where Nigerian economy is not performing, a situation where 71% poverty in the country, which means that everybody else is poor. You have almost 53% unemployment among our youth. And you have this country that has become a killing field. Why would anybody who thinks he has the solution, the key to the problem, sit back? That's what has motivated me. I think there is a leadership gap here that I can feel.
But I'm curious as to when it hits you that with the kind of players that we have in the political scene right now, that you could be president. When did that hit you?
Well, it hits me in 2019 because, as I said, I had lived with this from 1986 when I got into this situation where I started comparing my country with the rest of the world, from the US to the 60 other countries I've been. I looked at their educational system, I looked at their healthcare system, I looked at their environment, I look at their infrastructure, I look at their mortgage system, I look at every system, how they live, the kind of transportation, each time I travel. So I've lived with this. And the way I wanted to express this, like I said, is to write books. I have a book called Nigeria Need for the Evolution of a New Nation, where I express this view. I've written newspaper articles, 3 columns a week for 7 years. Like I said, I've been in the conference circuits, summit circuits. But on the 30th of July, 2019, in faraway Sokoto for 3.5 hours, I was in conversation with myself and my creator. And I came to the conclusion that I had a role to play, that I've been like Jonah, who was mandated to go to Nineveh. He preferred to go to Tarshish. I stayed out. And I said, you feel guilt that it could be because you've really been running away. And if people like you are running away and you've been assigned a problem to solve, how will it be? So that was when it became clear to me that I had a role to play at the highest office of the country.
But what's your conviction that you could win this? I ask this because you're coming in at a time when quite a number of political players, heavyweights, have decided to also throw their hats in the ring. And these are people who understand politics. What's your conviction that you could win this?
My conviction is that you, Terry, are you not fed up with some of these heavyweights? I think you are. I have met Nigerians who say, we need something new. We need new ideas. We need new ideologies. We're not just interested in people throwing money at us, people looking for power, and maybe they do not know what to do with the power. They're not talking about what they have experienced. Year after year, every electoral cycle, people, familiar faces come, heavyweights. So I get people saying, we need somebody who can solve Nigeria's problem. It doesn't have to be a very old man. It doesn't have to be a very young person. We need somebody who we can look back and say, this man has risen from his profession as a first-level manager and climbed to become CEO and chairman and regional manager for West Africa. That sign of competence. He's been involved in building businesses, creating jobs, creating employment. That's what he's done all his life, over 40 years. This is a man who also has a fair knowledge of how the public sector works, public and private, having led all the groups in the private sector, understand, have been involved in investment promotion. Then in the public sector, I've served in presidential advisory councils, task forces, boards, and all sorts of opportunities to create support to government work.
You had mentioned that you were running based on your ideologies, and then so it draws me or leads me to this ultimate question. Do your ideologies align with the PDP? Why have you chosen the PDP?
They align because PDP is talking about today rebuilding Nigeria. My ideology is to build a new Nigeria. You see the relationship. They want to rebuild Nigeria. The ideology of Nigeria is to build a new Nigeria. And the Nigeria we want to build is a globally competitive nation, a nation that could ultimately become a first world nation because we have the capability. The countries who were in the first world before now, Singapore, Malaysia, South Korea, even United Arab Emirates, they've emerged, emerged nations. Some have become first world nations. So that is also the ideology of the People's Democratic Party. They want to build a big country with a big economy. And if you check back, when PDP was in power, economy did better than it is today. Every facet of human endeavor was better, even though we still had a lot of unsolved problems. And nobody ever solves all the problems one day. Consistent application of the right principles employing the right ethical morality in running governance can be an area we need a lot of improvement. And that's what I bring, because if you perform without character, there's problem.
So how then do you react to people who say that the PDP puts the country in the mess that it's in right now?
No, you need to look at statistics. Comment is free. Anybody can say anything. But data, as you know, is what was the economic growth? What was our GDP growth? What was our inflation? What was the value of the naira? What was our depreciation? You need to look at what was our employment rate, unemployment rate. What was all those? Those facts are there. Compare them with what they are. Then you know who has messed up.
But while they were low compared to now, they were not improving at the time.
They were improving. Check which was not improving. Look,
the naira was already falling under the PDP.
Yeah, but it was not at this level.
Unemployment was also rising under the
PDP. But it was at this level.
Not at this level. So my point is, it's in comparison. It may be worse now.
Yeah.
But during the PDP, it wasn't getting better.
But
it was gradually declining.
If you remember that it was during the period of the global economic crisis, 2008 to 2010, the world fell, oil failed, money almost failed. It was global economic crisis. So at that period, that things will normally go down everywhere else. But when you see the kind of policies that were being adopted, I mean, look at education. PDP, during the period of PDP, they even established education for migrant, itinerant herdsmen all over the country. And people were quarreling, why do you want to put schools for itinerant people? You know, all kinds of policies. The rail lines you see today and the rail projects were started by PDP. Most of the road projects were started by PDP. And I'm a witness because I served in Shop P. I know that the Lagos, the Kaduna, Abuja, and Standard Gauge, I was the convener in the Shop P. And the rail was almost ready for commission. The president said, let's wait till after the elections. And after the elections, somebody else completed and inaugurated. So PDP laid foundation. The point is that PDP does not have the kind of machinery, propaganda machinery that APC has. APC has a very strong machinery. If PDP was in power now, where you can't travel, where there's the law and order is broken, where insecurity is at this level, the propaganda of machinery of APC will have driven PDP out of office. The president will have run out. But the PDP, maybe because they are used to being in leadership, they are being used in, do not know how to point out the errors. This country has never been bad. It's never been this divided. It's never been this poor. It's never been this unsafe. My brother, I mean, there's no perfect human situation. But what we expect is that things should get better, especially if you come. Somebody comes, like I'm coming now. I'm saying, I want to build a new Nigeria that will be globally competitive and a country that will work for everybody, that will work for the poor, work for the rich, work for the strong, work for the weak, work for the north, work for the south, the east and west. I'm trying to build a cohesive, inclusive nation that you and I will be proud of, sufficiently producing enough goods and services by ramping up productivity and export-driven productivity, because we have four things dealing with this nation, which must be addressed head-on and in a fundamental way, not cosmetic. Poverty, corruption, injustice, and insecurity. And they need pinpointed attack. But the principal demon, as I call it, I said there are four demons that buffet Nigeria, these four demons. But the principal demon is poverty, because poverty affects corruption. Poverty affects insecurity. You know, so what we're saying is that I'm coming with my group and with those who believe in New Nigeria concept to enthrone a nation that will be a construction value addition territory. Every young man in Nigeria who has the ability will have work to do. Either he's working for himself or he's working for somebody, because the opportunities to do that are enormous. From the day he leaves school, he comes out with his business plan. His final year will be spent developing business plan, not doing project. Because we must learn to do things when we go to the university. First is learn how to solve problems. Second is how to learn how to create wealth. You're a journalist, you're whatever historian, you can create wealth but you need to have the mentality. Instead of everybody looking for somebody else to employ him. And not only are we going to get you to do business plans, when you come out, the government, through its Small Business Development Authority, will give you aid, support you, lead you to test whether what you have in your business plan is marketable, is it fungible? And then if it's fungible, we now direct you to the one source, either through equity or through debt, venture capitalists, or through multilateral, bilateral development funding, or commercial, depending on. And if you find that you have a good idea that will create jobs and create value, and you have issues, government will intervene on your behalf. Leadership is to cause things to change. Management is to see that we move from an agreed position to a better position. That is what we're going to do. This country is poorly managed, it's poorly led. And I can't stay and keep watching. Because this wasn't the country my father left for me. My father left a country where I could travel between Port Harcourt and Zungeru, Port Harcourt and Kafanchan and Kaduna in a train, 10-year-old boy without any escort. And I went and came. My father didn't bother whether I would return because there was even no phone to call him that I've arrived. I'll go and stay 2-3 weeks and I come home. My father left a country where I went to the university on scholarship. I finished school in June, July, I was working. 3 months after that, I started work. I was given a car loan to buy a car. I drove that car for my internship at Youth Corps in the North, drove it to start work in Pfizer on the 17th of July, 1978. 3 months I joined Pfizer. Pfizer gave me a brand new Peugeot car as my official car. As a 3-year-old graduate, I had 2 cars in my garage. I funded my wedding. I was able to take care of my siblings. My children can't fund their wedding. I'm not talking about the grandchildren. My children can't buy a house unless they steal. I got a housing loan to build a house. My first house was built by a loan given to me by Union Bank. First of all, I got a land loan to buy land. Then I bought a house. I got a housing loan. Why would that not happen? All over the world, you have mortgage. People don't pay cash to buy a house. They don't steal to buy a house. You at your level, or even you're too senior, you get a car. Undergraduates, graduates in America have opportunity to get a car lease or buy a car. Why can't we organize our country to run that way? Why do we put young people through what they are going through? And nobody seems to care.
So that brings me to the question, your private sector experience.
Yeah.
How does it come to bear in achieving some of the things that you've talked about?
Private sector creates a lot discipline. It creates discipline in managing resources because of accountability. You go to the bank and borrow money. The money will pay interest on, monthly interest, and at the end, you return the capital and still must have saved some money to continue to run the business. That discipline is one of the greatest discipline what brings to government. We have resources which hopefully we're not paying interest on. But what is the return on investment? Who measures? Every day they come and tell you we have a 25 billion for this road, 100 billion for this project, 250 billion. You know there's no more 1 million in Nigeria from government spending. Did they tell you how many jobs is created? How many jobs are created? Do you know what is the return on the investment? The return on investment we're looking at may not be cash as we probably ask for in the private sector. But how many people have been employed? When I was chairman of Economic Summit, I kept telling government, any day you come out after this your Wednesday meeting, and they say, we have ordered this contract, please tell us how many jobs will be created. Let job be the focus of every contract you order. In a country suffering joblessness, it didn't touch anybody because that's not their interest. Maybe they're calculating other things. They're not concerned how many jobs is going to be created, how many people are going to be lifted from poverty. It's not. Nigeria devalues its currency, and they keep you down that devaluing your currency, you have already devalued everybody's earning power. No opportunity to compensate. When we come to power, the moment you have a 10% devaluation of Naira, we will adjust salaries automatically. We're not going to wait for ASU or for NLC or for TUs to go on strike, and we'll lose manpower. This country doesn't understand how that time is money. When you get people out of job, you are bringing your economy down. The country must do to maintain productivity if we want to compete with the rest of the world. The economy is falling because ASU is on strike permanently. There was once they were on strike almost 1 year. Did anybody compute what Nigeria lost? At the end, Nigeria paid them. or not going to work, what kind of a system? You agree with workers that you meet their recommendations. You sign, then after you renege. What kind of infidelity? And you expect people to show fidelity when you as a government is modeling infidelity. Nigerian citizens have no power. They have no role anymore. The only time citizens have power is now. Election. We'll go and bribe them, we'll go and cajole them, we'll go and deceive them to come and vote for people. After that, they become deaf. They'll call you, no answer. They'll write a letter, you no reply. They will shout to say they are making noise. They shout too much, you arrest them. They carry their bag, they are going to work, you arrest them, that they are Yahoo people. That's what our citizens suffer. When we come to power, Terry, the citizen, office of the citizens will be elevated. The citizen will be at the position where you have shareholders in the company and the board is subordinate to the shareholders. So also should be the presidency, the executive subordinate to the citizen. If the citizen says a thing, we should listen. There's going to be a law by the National Assembly. If a citizen of Nigeria writes a letter, makes an inquiry from you as a government, and you do not reply in 2 weeks, you are liable to action. Because we must respect the people of the country. They don't put value on us. That's why people die in hundreds and thousands, and it's just like flies and insects are dying. But these are human beings. They could be your own children or your own family. But we don't care. I've borne days in pain. And I believe it's not the way it's intended to do. We're not inferior to anybody. In 1986, I was telling you, I went to an international sales managers meeting in New York. I was group sales manager for Pfizer. There were 106 sales managers from 106 countries that came. At the end of the conference, I was nominated the best participating sales manager out of 106. And people came to me and said, hey, Sam, hey, congratulations. They were shaking my hand. Which university do you attend? I said, I went to University of Ife. They said, where is that? I said, in Nigeria. They said, wow, do you have good universities in Nigeria? I said, many. I began to name them, UI, UNN, APU, UNILAG. They said, then you must have a lot of smart guys like you in Nigeria. I said, we have millions, millions. Then they ask you, why is your country that way? If you have all the smart people, good universities, where is your country? That's the burden I've carried since '86. We want to change it.
Well, let's delve a little deeper into politics now. You spoke earlier about how confident you are in the PDP.
Yeah.
And you're quoted to have said that Nigerians will give the PDP a second chance in 2023. My question is this irrespective of who emerges as flag bearer in the 2023 presidential election?
No, it's not a blanket approval. I was conditional. I said it depends on how PDP organizes itself, the kind of internal democracy they show, and how they produce the kind of people that Nigerians are looking at. Nigerians have a description of who they want. They want somebody with ideology, with competence, with capacity, with character, who will say, I will restructure the country and will start the process.
And that person is you.
That's me.
But let me draw your attention to something. There are consultations among those who have declared to run in 2023. I couldn't help but notice that you've not been involved in some of these consensus meetings that they've been trying to have. And it raises a question. It would almost make complete sense to say that anyone would be worried about your chances in 2023. Does that worry you as well, that you're not being carried along in these conversations? At
all. Because I'm on a mission. When you have an assignment, you pursue your assignment. There are people, we have different motivations for coming to power. There are those who are looking for power, looking for money, looking for position, negotiating for, I'm not negotiating for position. I've come to do a job, which I believe I am motivated to do by my creator. And I'm going to pull myself. I'm not averse to negotiations. We have been talking to some people, it may not be public. People like drama. In this country, they like drama. Somebody says, I don't support zoning. And yet he's talking about consensus. Do you know the difference between zoning and consensus? Immediately you go to consensus, you are talking about eliminating some people and favoring other people for whatever reason. You've gone into zoning. Zoning involves exclusion. If you say exclude this man, then you are talking about you are zoning it or you are giving a preferential area. So we can't be supporting the two things. If you don't support zoning, then let everybody go to the field and let the people of Nigeria decide, or your party decide, who is the best. Unless you don't want to do, you don't want to be fair. Democracy, that's the point. PDP must show that it is completely a democratic party.
So are you against consensus?
I'm not against it, but it's not the primary thing. It's not a primary thing. The people are not talking to the people of the country. They are not visiting the states. They are busy running around just talking about how to.
But you say this is internal politics, internal democracy within the PDP.
Sure.
And it's probably not time to start speaking to the people. It's more about the party members.
No, the party member, that's what I'm telling you. The party members, who are the party members they are speaking? Who are they going to speak to? They are speaking to people they feel that control Nigerian politics. I have not come to maintain status quo. I have come to start a new system where you recognize the real people, the party members who are in their states, the state ESCO, local government chairman, and those people who sometimes have no voice. We want them to have voice. Because if this country will change, it has to change in a fundamental way. If we want democracy, we want to get to the grassroots. But if people are running around governors, running around people that look like them, and making plans how to seize our country, I probably won't be part of it.
You know, that's the consensus conversation.
Consensus about who? You are the person who wants power. Who are you consenting with? The people you are making appeal to should the people who should say, we have seen these 10 people. Let's decide who we're going to choose. It's not you saying, I should sit down, you go. What's the basis of you are going to ask me consensus? Then it means you didn't really want to be president. You are looking for something else. I want to be president. That's the motivation. If I had wanted to be minister, you wouldn't find me now. I would have come much earlier. I'm not a young man, for crying aloud. I have been in the system. I've done the utmost I can do from the private ranks, from the NGO ranks, from the advocacy ranks. I want to be able to exercise power. I'm not against consensus, but it's not the principal thing. The principal thing is show your capability to the people who vote. And at the end of the day, the people who vote will be able to say, okay, we have seen 3, 4 of you. Why don't we sit down with you? Who are they sitting down with?
You know, I must say that
that's my thinking.
Of all the people who have bought the PDP presidential form, it's only you that's not being carried along.
I wouldn't think so. Who said I'm not being carried along?
Okay, that's why I ask you. Are you being carried along in the consensus conversation?
No, I'm not being carried along. I'm speaking on how to get the system work well. I'm speaking with those who I have spoken with.
Have you spoken with some of the aspirants who've also bought the form?
Yes, I have.
To arrive at a consensus agreement?
No, I'm not yet involved in any consensus. The people haven't finished buying the form.
But would you be open to it?
The people haven't finished buying the form.
But would you be open to a consensus agreement?
Yes. Who wouldn't be? I mean, it will be...
Even if it's not you?
Why not? But the issue is the consensus must be based on certain given criteria. The easiest consensus is to zone. The easiest consensus with zone, so you're a smaller number. How can you be talking 13, 14 people? How do you think they'll come to a consensus? People can waste money because they are traveling not on their own expense. They are flying and chartering aircraft. They are using money that belongs to the people of the country, running around the place, having fun. So for me, the issue is any day we'll need to have consensus. It's not be on media. We'll come, find a meeting, we'll come together. Not just jumping from place to place. If that's the way they do politics, that's not my idea. We want to change things. I believe that if to get to the point that you can call consensus, first, everybody that is coming out will have come out. PDP, for example, has extended purchase of forms. So it means more people can still come. So if you finish your consensus before they come, you have excluded those ones already. Because you think you have a better claim to the office in Nigeria. I don't think so. We need to change our attitude. If this is about the people, there must be some moral code, some way to practice politics that doesn't look that we're desperate for power. I'm not desperate, but I'm desirous to give of my services to my country because I have found that my country is suffering, being relegated, chronic underdevelopment, chronic poverty, And then people are busy just talking about power. Power for what? Power must be used to achieve a base. To be sincere, I am a member of PDP. But what is important is not whether it is PDP or whether it is APC or whether it is ATC. That is secondary. What is important is what are we offering Nigeria? What hope do Nigerians feel? Because as you know, they don't cease to see much hope. And all this gerrymandering and running around the country does not give hope. I relate to the people of the country at their different levels. People are not excited. I'm not against consensus, but it may be a consensus based on giving criteria, which is how do we get the best person to serve Nigeria, not the best person with the biggest amount of money, not the person that can maneuver or manipulate more than the other. I won't be part of that because righteousness exalts a nation. Sin is a reproach to everybody. What Nigeria is facing is part of our righteous way of conducting our activities. And what you sow is what we're going to reap. Until we begin to do things in an orderly manner, things may not. In other countries, they do primaries, they go from state to state. The people who choose, the consensus will emerge. The person who has a better appeal will emerge. The person who has a less appeal, you don't have to force him to concede. He will know that maybe it's not his time. This opportunity is not for him. He quietly walks away. But you go and sit and be telling people, concede, concede. I'm afraid not much will come out of those things. I'm afraid. I'm not against it, but if we're all sincere, if Nigerians are sincere, especially PDP, we should maintain the policy of our party. How many people concede when it was the turn of other areas? How many did you hear consensus? It is now when it's supposed to be turn of the South, Southeast, then we're hearing consensus. We're hearing people.
So that brings me to my next question.
Yes.
While you clamor for zoning,
Yeah.
insisting that it should come to the South,
Yes.
it would seem that the PDP is considering throwing this ticket open, even though Governor Samuel Otom has come out to say that that was not an express recommendation from his committee. You've also said that there would be implications if the ticket is thrown open and not zoned to the South. What sort of implications?
Sir, there's every action, that's the first law of Newton. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. When people are expecting that a party will zone it to a place like the South, as has been done, the APC has virtually zoned to the South, from what I hear. And then you come in the middle of a game and change the rules. People are going to be unhappy. There are people who will not vote for PDP because they have failed to maintain their zoning policy. I'm not a prophet to say that. There are people who will be angry enough not to. And when PDP has done this, if at the end of the day, thank God that it is, for me, even if the committee has recommended, it hasn't become a policy of the party, because the neck of the party will still have to review. And there are people in the neck who have conscience and who think about tomorrow. We're not thinking about putting things to achieve the purpose of one man, because that's where we fail. I will support consensus, but it must be based on giving criteria. What is the criteria for accepting as consensus? So for the consequences, there are some people who will not support PDP because they didn't zone to where they expected them to zone, or they have jettisoned their zones, or who think that PDP has lost its ability to maintain certain principles. As I said, at the end of the day, if it is the policy of the party, every party member has to live with that policy. But we will have calculated the pros and cons and come to the conclusion that we can live with the cons. You understand me? Let us not do this. And when the consequences come or the repercussions come, we start looking like a witch or a wizard hit us. So my point is, I'm a member of the party. I'm not going to dictate for the party. I will never say either this or never. That will be lack of sensitivity and lack of, it will be being arrogant. You cannot know more than your party. A part cannot be bigger than the whole. I'm ready to understand what the party is saying, but until I'm sure that the party has sat down in a strategy and said, if we do this, these are the probable consequences. If we do this, these are, so we weight them, match them and say, well, there are pros here, there are cons here, but overall, we think that this is a better option. That's why we work in the private sector. We don't take decisions off the cuff. We do scenario planning. If this happens, what will happen? So there are no surprises. That's why government changes policies and changes its act, because they act first before they think. They make pronouncements before they started planning. And they therefore leave people facing the crisis of unrealized expectations. Plan first, do all the planning, then you come out and say what you're going to plan. So my point is, let PDP do the planning, look at the consequences, the pros and cons, and if the party, as a party, says, we've considered everything, this is our best option, then party members ought to follow. Those who are not satisfied can take whatever other action, but you can't force the party to do what they do not think is in the best interest of the party.
Mazi, at 71,
Yeah.
are you concerned that age may be a factor for you gaining the support of the youths who seem to be very interested in politics now and would want a younger president?
It's their legitimate right. But those youths who have come close to me are amazed. They have come to the conclusion that age is in the mind. They see an elderly man who is as agile, as ebullient, as energetic as a 24-year-old guy. You know, I'm like Joshua, who said, the way I feel is the way I feel when I was 40. I can take the mountain. These are my colleagues, you know, as they can tell you. I do an 18 hours work. I've done this 18 hours work for 40 years. From when I was when I was a manager in Pfizer to today. My wife knows, everybody knows, I am always doing multiple things. At one time, I was president of Nigeria Economic Summit Group. I'm a chairman of Nigeria Economic Group, president of Nigeria Employers Consultative Association, chairman of Manufacturing Association of Ikeja, and I was running my company. That was why I got an honor, national honor in 2018 called National Productivity Order of Merit, because they checked my record. You are holding these 3 private sector organizations at the same time, even though they crisscrossed, and you are running your company. How did you do it? It is the kind of preparation. I have the energy level that many young people do not have, an endurance level. I have the capacity. And what is important is that leadership is not a 100-meter dash. Leadership is the ability to envision, an ability to influence, an ability to motivate people from a less desired destination to a better destination. And when you become a leader, you hire competent people, much younger people, much more qualified people, motivate them. And your job, you become a cheerleader and somebody who keeps checking out on them and seeing that they are doing the work and pushing and reorganizing. Let me tell you that in 2023, if we come to power, one of the decisions we have in our document is that all this cry, we're going to have, in terms of affirmation and allocation, 40% of our appointments will be to men, 40 will be to women, 20 will be to youth. Even among the 80%, 40, some youth will also be included. We're going to make a special case for youth, not only women, youth, both boys and girls. We want a country, because we want to recognize the diversity of our country in terms of demography, diversity in terms of ethnicity, diversity in terms of religious beliefs. We are a rainbow nation, and Nigeria must reflect that in its appointments, in allocation of resources, in treating the people of the country. The people of the country, every individual, wherever you come from, I don't know where you come from, Terry, but your people will for once feel that, thank God they have a president, even though he may not have come from their area, but he's treating them as a, because that's what I'm coming from, equity. And what is taking me there is this issue that we have. We must love ourselves.
Very well then, let me take you to something very touchy. You fought in the civil war for the Biafran army.
Yeah.
And now you want to be president at a time when people from your area are agitating for Biafra. And I'm curious as to whether you're not concerned if you would get their support. And then secondly, some sections of the country may worry that you, as a former Biafran soldier, would accede to the secessionist demands if you become president, and that could stand in the way of your presidential ambition.
Yeah, good points. First is that if you ask if we are sensitive and reasonable and empathetic enough to ask those who are agitating why they're agitating, you find that it is a feeling of the way they are being treated in the country. That's their feeling. A country that is marginalizing them, a country that is not giving them a fair opportunity to compete within the government sector, especially. That's their feeling. And also felt that they have been denied opportunities to be in the top echelons of government since the war ended. That's their feeling. So for me, actually, my comment is an answer to their worry. Because if I become president, if Nigeria gives me the opportunity to become president, then they'll have a sense that actually, truly, the war has ended, that the integration that Gerald Gowon spoke about has now been fulfilled. So I believe that what they are watching is to see, with Nigeria, we are telling them, Nigeria, if they say, you guys, are you sure? This country, do they regard you as Nigerians? I say they do. You see it through this election. So if Nigeria really wants integration of Nigeria, to show this is the time to support somebody from the Southeast. So the problem is not going to come from my people. What they expect is that this should give an opportunity to demonstrate that there is no conspiracy to keep the Southeast out of mainstream leadership.
But do you have the support of IPOB? I know that recently your kinsmen endorsed you, threw their wits behind you. But for IPOB specifically, who have repeatedly sounded like they will not be participating in the 2023 general elections?
They are doing what they know how to do, but they are watching. They are human beings like us. IPOB is not a monster. They are young people, largely, who want good for themselves and for their people and for their generation. Actually, somebody said, well, Biafrans at the end of the day, because Biafra is more or less an ideology of a country of equity, justice, and fair play. That's exactly what it is. And anybody that ascribes to that, the minute somebody's saying, I want justice, you give him justice, why would he not accept it? What else will be looking for? So their case is that they do not trust that people will keep, when the people cannot keep agreements with ASU, they can't keep agreement with NASU, they can't keep agreement with NLC. They're asking, can they keep even mere agreements to support people from the Southeast? That is one. Number two, if you read my book, I wrote a book after the book called Protocol Volunteer, which was my experience of the Biafra War as a young person. I ended that chapter with saying that, with the book with a chapter saying that Nigeria, that I will not wish my enemy to see the suffering that we went through in the war, how people were dying of hunger, malnutrition, and how people were being shot and killed. As a young man, it was very, 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 very damaging. I will not wish my enemy, and I will not wish it for Nigeria again. So I began to say, we need to do things to avert that kind of thing happening. And I want to tell you, that's part of my motivation, to put a model of how you can build a diverse nation, a nation of multi-ethnic, multi-interest, how you can bring them together and give each person a sense of belonging. That's my preparation, because I saw it. I saw what I felt was inequity. They say, do unto others as you wish they do unto you. So I'm coming to model what is the ideal of how we can build a harmonious relationship. Because come to think about it, Terry, when you look at this country, who are the people that show that they truly love this country? Who? It is the people from the southeast or the Igbo. You find in every corner of this country. After the indigenous population, in most places they are second. You kill them, burn their assets, they come back. And when they come, they don't come back with a traveling bag. They come with their assets, settle down, build businesses, build schools, build houses, build hospitals, marry, get married, integrate into the system, and support the development of the system. Anywhere. Is it in Sokoto? Is it in Kaduna? Is it in Kano? Is it in Zaria? Or is it in Bayelsa? Is it in Edo? Everywhere you go, Igbo is there doing their business. What they want is a country that they can call their own. And that country they can call their own, the name is not necessarily Biafra. Like I tell people, let's make Nigeria that country we can call our own by building justice, equity, and fair play. I've been to the north, I've been to the south. The common folk in the country want one thing. They want fairness. Nobody wants to be cheated. They want equity. They want where they have a government that has a feeling for them, that cares for them, that worries what happens to them. Do they go to bed hungry? What happens to their children? Do they go to school? What happens to them when they are sick? That's what they want. They are really not concerned whether you're Igbo, Yoruba, Hausa, Ibira.
So let me draw your attention to something. I had a conversation with the Minister of Labor, Productivity and Employment, Dr. Chris Ngige, and he said that where the president got it wrong with regard to the Igbo people, the Southeasterners, is in terms of appointments. He says that his people would prefer appointments. Do you agree with him?
Would prefer appointment than
what the developmental strides or projects that you're mentioning. He was specific. He said, "My people prefer appointments."
I don't know.
Is that the inclusion? Is that the sense of belonging of the Southeastern?
I don't know the context which you speak, because I didn't listen to him. But I believe that he was just taking one aspect.
No, let me explain that to you. Okay. So I asked him, because he said that President Buhari had done so much for the Southeast, mentioned some projects in the Southeast, and how he's created an enabling environment for businesses to thrive in the Southeast. And so I asked him, with all you say the president has done, why do your people still feel left out? And that was when he said that his people prefer appointments.
I wouldn't think he says I prefer appointment. I wouldn't, but my thinking what he's saying is that it is in that area, in the area of appointment, that is so obvious. The discrimination or the marginalization is more obvious in appointments. That's what I think he was saying. Because in sharing projects all over the country, the National Assembly budgets for projects. If you didn't plan for their own area, when the budget comes, they will change it and put their own area. So every area is protected, and the area that has more people, more representatives, like you have Kano with 44 local government, 44 House of Rep members, and those areas will of course attract more projects than other areas. So there are projects all over the country, and from what he's saying is that the area where there's manifest visibility of a marginalization policy is in appointment.
Very well,
the Southeast has been excluded from beginning up till now.
Very well, then we're almost out of time now, but let me ask you this. Should you become president as a medical practitioner and former president of the Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria, how would you address the brain drain in the health sector?
The critical thing is that the health sector has not been seen as a very major contributor to the economy. Go to the United States. The first is that you must make sure there is money in the health sector. You must monetize that sector so as to attract competence, to attract quality equipment, structure, hardware, and software. And the way America has done it and the rest of the world is through insurance. Bring a universal insurance policy that will make sure that our healthcare system has cash flow. The moment you have cash flow, there will be regression. People are going to America, going to there. Two things are taking them out. One is to be able to earn a proper living, and secondly, to work in an environment that is motivating. So, and it is, funding is a critical issue. Nigerians' funding to healthcare is not only insufficient because it's mostly public sector funding from the rest of us pay out of pocket. And when people pay out of pocket, you cannot predict whether they will even be able to pay when they are sick. So we're going to make sure there's a universal insurance. We're going to incentivize the workers in the system, pay them living wages, create an enabling environment for them to operate. Because in Nigeria, they are repressed. But when they leave us, the country, they blossom. And that doesn't only happen in the health system. In almost all professional areas in the country, Nigerian scientists, even artists are doing better outside the country. What we're going to do is to recreate that kind of environment by ensuring that the health sector is very well funded, not just from the budget, but through all of us contributing to the healthcare system and build a system that will create sufficient motivation for our people to come back and then treat our workers. I told you as a young pharmacist, I got a car in 3 months, I left school. So medical doctors, pharmacists, 5 years, they still don't have a car. They're working on foot. Whereas the day they arrive at America or UK, the next day they can get a car loan. The moment they get a bank account. Why can't we do so here? Is there anything? We're part of the globe. People should get houses without paying for them through a mortgage system. And they get houses, young people can live comfortably without stealing.
Here's something else that's very important. You have no security experience. And with the state of the nation now, Nigerians would give anything to feel safe. Why should you be sent to Aso without, at a time like this, what can you do better to handle the security situation?
You just said I fought in the war. So is that not some security experience?
You fought for Biafra.
It's part of Nigeria. Whatever you got security experience, even if you got it from Japan, is security experience. But, talking seriously, I don't need to be a security expert to know how to deal with security. One of the things I've proposed since this insecurity started, nobody has done it. Two things I'm going to do. The day I am announced as president, not inaugurated, announced, the first people I'm going to call are all the security experts in Nigeria, the retired generals, the retired policemen, and we'll sit down in a big round table and spend 2 weeks and asking ourselves, what brought us this low in security? The practitioners, those active and those not active, sit together, open, speak your mind. We're going to get enough of information. The next I'm going to call the citizens, the communities that own Nigeria and sit down and say, guys, this was not how this our country was before. Why did we get here? Whom did we offend? Did we offend our God or did we offend somebody else? If it takes 2, 3, 4 months, we sit together and come to armed robber not be spirit, not person. Every robber, every kidnapper, every bandit has brother, has sister. He lives in a community. But the country they have no confidence, even in our police, to even pass information to them. So we need to sit down and build confidence on the community. They will give us information. So I get information from the community, I get information from the military experts. Then I put the right people in the right spaces and introduce a high level of intelligence and technology. With technology today, you can deal with every security problem, both preventive, proactive security, and even delivering armor to deal with miscreants. It's doable. We can afford to buy the technology, we can afford to buy the experience, we can afford to buy the intelligence, but more importantly, involve the people of the country in dealing with security. That is one area we have not touched. I don't know what is arrogance or whatever, but that's where we're going to do differently, and you see the results will be immediate.
Just before we go, I'd like to ask this question to wrap up my interviews. Ahead of the 2023 general elections, how different will it be? Maybe specifically the presidential election.
2023?
Yes.
Two things. First, that all these permutations and calculations you are seeing will fail. What will happen in 2023? New things will happen that we didn't. Maybe some of us have seen them, some may not see them. Nigerians are no longer the mumu. They are mumu done too. They are going to be more selective. They are going to be more deliberate in making choices. Money alone will not work. Money remains important because of the poverty, but it will not work. Number two thing that will happen is that there will be attempts by these experienced people in trying to manipulate the system, but it will fail because first and foremost, thank God we have a new electoral law that has removed the discretion that they used to have in writing results and say they have been elected. So that finally, if anybody tries to monkey with the Nigerian election in 2023, Nigerians will reject it, they will resist it. Those are the three things I can tell you.
Mazi Sam Ohuabunwa, thank you very much for coming to speak with us on Political Paradigm.
Thank you for the privilege. God bless you.
God bless you too. And that's Political Paradigm. Thanks for your time. Remember to catch this and other episodes on the Channels TV website and also on YouTube at Channels TV. I'm Terry Ikumi. Goodbye.